Hey, we're doing the episode. We're in. It's Double Radio Wrestlecast. We're back. AEW x NJPW Forbidden Door has officially happened. It's very good, and we want to talk about it.
Really
We got
good.
some things to talk about this show that I think are very interesting. So I'm excited
Yeah.
to get into it with you two. All
Yeah.
right, we're gonna jump right in. We didn't do predictions for this just because the time scheduling and whatnot for the show
Yeah.
coincided with a whole bunch of
Yeah.
stuff.
It's
And I moved
also
the
like,
day of it, so it's not
yeah.
possible to really do a predictions this time.
It's also like the just the universe really had it out for this pay-per-view. They
Yes,
really like so many of the fighters have been injured and are still injured.
Some
I've
people got
gotten
injured on the
injured.
they've gotten
Yeah,
injured on the show.
it's yes. And it's just like so like that and just like I imagine that this is probably, you know, a little bit of a nightmare to plan just because of the
Absolutely.
extent of the wrestling world that this covers. And so it's just like, we were like waiting for like a full card to get put out, and they really waited until like 3
Yeah,
days before.
Yeah.
if that,
It was pretty
even
crazy.
then, I think we had matches announced day of. So
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
there's
One
some,
of the matches didn't get announced until the show started. I'm like
yeah,
99% sure.
yep. Yeah, there's a lot to talk about with this. A lot of people predicted beforehand this was going to be a shorter, like 2 hour long show. It was not. This was a full pay per
Nope.
view, full
Yeah.
length pay per view. Some longer matches, I think, than a lot of people are used to with AEW pay per views. We like to sprinkle in some shorter ones in the middle. We didn't really get that here. Most of these
Yeah.
matches were pretty chunky.
Hmm.
So, all right, let's just jump into the buy-in. We got some buy-in matches to talk about. The one that really got me was Aaron Solo and QT Marshall with Goto and Yoshihashi. Because I didn't
Hell
think this
yeah.
was going to be interesting. I didn't think I'd be into this. Goto and Yoshihashi are great.
Yep.
They're-
Dude,
Yep.
every time I see Yoshihashi, I just text Brett Yoshihashi moment.
He does.
I
And
really
I guess what
like,
would be good to say before we talk about the match is you two have had some exposure to NJPW, to my knowledge.
Ryan much more than I do.
Yeah,
Ryan has watched
Ryan's
a lot
our
of it.
resident expert on NJPW. I have seen nothing in JPW. I've seen one
Yeah.
NJPW match before. It was like Shingo Takagi and Will Ospreay, I think. Very good.
Mhm.
That's the only one I've seen.
I have to, surmise that that's probably going to change after this pay-per-view.
Oh, absolutely. As soon as I find the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
very good. I love the presentation that all of the NJPW wrestlers got here. It was really good. I was slightly worried that AEW wouldn't fully commit to presentation
Yeah.
because they don't always do that, even for their own wrestlers. So I'm glad to see they did, and that we got lots of lengthy intros and whatnot. Because hey, that's how you sell me on a new guy, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, so you have
But
Goto and
yeah.
Yoshihashi. What
They've been
everyone else
teaming.
like this?
They've been teaming for a bit now. Give some context. Goto is the ultimate bridesmaid in New Japan, essentially.
Yeah.
But he's won a ton of tournaments. Been had I don't know how many matches for the belt. Never won it. But he was a really good, stiff guy. Who can really. He's a really good hand. And Yoshihashi, for the longest time until very recently, was just very unfortunately I would say underwhelming, and I think unfortunately that happened to be ever since he re-debuted at the company, because in New Japan, you're a young lion, you go on your excursion, you come back to your debut, and your character's off and running. um Yoshihashi's return match was against another young lion who was returning from excursion. That was Okada.
Well, that'll
And
do it.
to give some context, after the match, after he returned, Okada's next big match was the title match where he first won his first New Japan IWGP title.
That's
So,
unfortunate.
Yoshihashi's just kind of been there, but he's really grown, and both of them have been awesome as a team
It
for
seems
the
like,
last
yeah.
2-3 years. They were six-man with Ishii as well, who wasn't on the pay-per-view, but
Yeah,
they were like one
we
of the
also
best
found out he got
six-man
injured
battle.
right beforehand.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, really sick match. I think it really showed even like QT and Aaron Solo. Like maybe except for like one of the things QT did, he kind of messed up his little funny flop he does over the ring or like over the ropes. But it showed all of them pretty well.
A good way of putting that move.
Yeah, this match in particular, because for those who are newer to AEW, QT used to be a face. And he used to be a pretty fun face to watch because he was the underdog a lot of the time. He was teamed with the absolute madman, Dustin Rhodes, and they're like, well, because I'm thinking of the Naturals. I don't really like to think about that other guy very much. And he's like, every so often he'd pull out like a crazy like flip or just like some like high flying move or something like that. And this match kind of felt like the old QT a little bit. Like he actually had to try instead of just being like obliterated by someone else to put them over. Which not that there's anything wrong with that because he does that very well when it's
like
just
this is a match to show off Goto and Yoshihashi, so you don't want to have it end immediately. I thought this was really refreshing. It was a nice little palate cleanser before the main event and the main pay-per-view itself.
Yeah.
Moving on to our...
I was just gonna say, I think it was also really good because, like, if you're casual, even like a casual like New Japan person, the big names like Okada and all that. And I think this was a really good match to show like some people, like some of the like middle of the card people, and like that aren't like in the main events all the time. And I really like that because it made it feel like a New Japan show as well. Like you're getting all these people.
Yeah, that's another thing I think a lot of people were worried about beforehand is that we'd get the like big people in the 4-way, and then it would just be a lot of smaller matches. But we had a lot of very impressive performances here from a lot of people. So. Yeah, even the buy-in. I mean, 3 matches on the buy-in is already a good start. So
it was 4, right?
I think it's just 3.
4? There's this one.
4.
No, there was 4. It was 4. I forgot about the other one because it was very short.
One of them short.
All right. So our next match was Murdoch Lance Archer versus Nick Comoroto. Easy, quick and done match.
Yeah,
it's not. I think this is not the match anyone came to see here, but they did good.
Exactly.
It was always fun. Nick Comoroto.
Served, I think, really only one purpose, and that's because Lance Archer is going to be in the G1 tournament.
Yes.
They probably wanted something for the Japanese fans to see. Oh, look, here's Lance Archer again, and here he is destroying a man almost exactly his size.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a feeling that was the intent here, is that they just wanted to be like, hey, this guy's going to be the G1. Go watch that. Mm-hmm. And it probably worked. So
I really like it. I really like this too because I don't think I've mentioned it really. The block in that Lance is going to be a part of has just a bunch of really other big people in it and Okada. Like large people. So I think that's also like what they're trying to do is like, oh yeah, here's another big guy like Lance is going to be going up against. So yeah,
All right.
Yeah, I mean that's all we really had to say. There's
nice simple match.
One spot that kind of got me nervous. I'm pretty sure it's the first move. Lance coming into the ring, he was trying to do his like little little somersault or whatever into the ring, and then he just kind of almost landed on his head. That got me nervous.
Again.
Again.
Yeah.
Would have been a really bad way to start the show. Still fun though. Moving into our next match, Swerve in Our Glory, Keith Lee and Strickland versus Suzuki Gun, El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. It's fun.
I'm a big Desperado fan.
Yeah, Desperado definitely showed off really well here.
Yeah, because he's not like a normal like junior high fly. Because you see the luchador mask, he sees a bit undersized, like he's gonna do high flying. Nope, very very grounded, very technical, and I think they showed that really well.
Yep.
Yeah,
he and Swerve bounce off each other really well, just because of how it's smooth and bendy.
Yeah,
it is. They had some pretty good interactions.
I love the interactions with Kanemaru and Keith Lee here because I like just starting off because They're both New Japan juniors, and then you have Keith Lee, just bigger,
Big
like
boy.
almost like 3 times the size of them, and
Yeah.
then Kanemaru just like goes up on the top rope and just tries to like mess around with them. But yeah, Swerve and all of them worked well together. They really worked well and told a good story with like knocking down Keith Lee, a man who's like
going after
again
that
like
knee.
Yeah, going after the knee, doing the stretch muffler and everything. It was just really cool, and I'm glad. Also glad Yoshinobu Kanemaru used the Sayori Surprise, the whiskey to the face.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Big fan of
I'm
the like missed attack just being whiskey.
Yeah,
of course.
And it's so good to see because I don't. It's been a bit since I've seen just a normal Kanemaru match. I'm not sure if they've let him do that in a while because they're still pretty strict with the COVID restrictions over there.
Yeah,
because I remember when everything first started, like he was like. He just kind of looked at the bottle while he was sad because he couldn't use it.
Oh no, really?
Yeah.
That's really funny.
So if he has been able to do it in more recent, I can't remember too well off the top of my head. That's awesome, but like I'm glad to be able to see him use it here. And I think that's another thing I was really happy to see was especially with all these like New Japan wrestlers. This is like the first time they've heard crowd reactions like this in a very long time, and I think that was really invigorating for them.
Yeah, that is something I do want to point out is that I know it was a legitimate worry between some people I talked to and myself that like I mean what it was at the Kansas show that like Will freaking Ospreay comes out and the crowd is like dead. And it's like, okay, this is worrying.
Concerning.
I'm a little scared. These are this is America, but this is New Japan. Like you kind of got to get these guys over. And like within like
they can't just be over in Japan; they have to also be over in America.
Exactly, yeah, and the booking from Tony's, Tony's booking was a little worrying in that like they really only had like a couple.
It's like they
matches
expected people to know who Ospreay was
exactly
when he showed up, which some people did, but you can tell a lot of the crowd was like, okay, cool, we're supposed to care about this guy, and then kind of eventually got what was going on. But I think there's a lot of
especially if you're there, you don't get Excalibur's like rundown of all this guy's achievements, and even then, like that's like he talks super fast. You got to pay attention, and it's like receiving an exposition dump on a character like 3 minutes before you have to fight them in a game. It's like, why? Come on, you could have shown me this beforehand. However, I think it's pretty unanimous that sold out crowd for the show. That is not the case because like we just said, pretty much everybody had some pretty substantial pops, New Japan or not, and especially some of the New Japan guys got like crazy crowd reactions that were
absolutely
like from their point of view probably great to feel and hear because they haven't heard that for a really long time. It's just people clapping.
Well, it's kind of reminded me a lot of Konosuke Takeshita's. Getting over very naturally in America. Of like people got really behind Takeshita after his like second appearance, so it was refreshing to see that happen for basically all of these people.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that like 9 times out of 10, like if someone that people even think is like tangential to New Japan, like maybe they just have like a Japanese billing name or whatever, like shows up in AEW, the crowd's gonna probably end up liking them almost immediately after this pay-per-view, especially because it's just like you have like
their presentational style is so different, and it's such a fun difference to get to see this unique take on how wrestlers look and whatnot, and like all the costume design here of like the gear designs, the entrance gear. Look, I like AEW. They gotta step up their game.
They
With
really
Ospreay's code alone,
really do.
It's really Thunder Rosa's carrying the AEW entrance game right now, or in the House of Black. So yeah, I would love to see another like just Goto and Yoshihashi coming out with stabs. Great.
Beautiful.
Ridiculous. I love it. I would love to see some more of this type of thing make its way into American wrestling, because it feels like a good way to get character in through the entrance presentation. All right. Good match. Moving on to our Gun Club versus the NJPW LA Dojo. This was a good one. I like Danhausen doing his little goof at the start.
Yeah, if you've watched any New Japan show prior to this, it's if you see the young boys come out, they're going to lose.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
that's what it felt like.
It was. I'll admit they did get me for seconds. Like, oh, Colton and Austin aren't there. It's 2v4 maybe, but nah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it still wasn't a bad match.
Yeah, and I like that this built up something with Gun Club right now. It looks like they're moving into some kind of program with Danhausen, or into some interpersonal drama with Acclaimed, which I think is a fun direction to take this in.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're at least moving along some regular AEW storylines in the same pay-per-view.
Yeah. And, I think with the exception of Alex Coughlin, one of the Dojo boys, LA Dojo, because he's, I think, technically graduated. All the DKC, Kevin Knight, Yu were all wearing the normal black trunks and did very, safe moves, because that's what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to do anything too flashy.
They can't be too impressive.
Yeah, they're supposed to learn the basics, essentially. And, but, good showing for them. I was really glad to see the Young Lions were able to be on the card as well. Again, just really made it give it a New Japan feel.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. And the whole well, not the whole, but part of the purpose of having Young Lions be a thing and having them, get shipped around like that is that I spoilers, this pay-per-view did very well, and they're probably going to do another one. So one of these one of these Young Lions might end up having a Shota Umino Jericho kind of thing, where they go, "You made me lose last time, but now I am back and I'm a real wrestler now. So I'm gonna kill you, Max Caster."
It was also interesting along those lines to see some of the reports about what the sales were like for this pay-per-view, because apparently the model of sale that this had is very different in that it sold out instantly. But any of the seats that were opened up very close to the show didn't really get sold out. Presumably because, if you're a normal wrestling fan and you don't know NJPW, you're not going to, if you live nearby, which is what those reserved seats are usually for, you're not going to go out of your way to get an expensive pay-per-view ticket to go see in New Japan, right?
Yeah.
But those initial sales were so impressive that it doesn't really matter. So
exactly. Yeah.
I'm curious to see, now that people know who New Japan is and that this pay-per-view is very well received, and that we continue to see some of them on television and whatnot, if going forward to whatever Forbidden Door 2 is, whenever that possibly happens, what those sales numbers will look like as well.
Yeah.
So I'm super curious. All right. We're into the pay-per-view. To our big startup trios tag team match: Eddie Kingston, Shota Umino, and Wheeler Yuta, of course billed as the ROH Pure Champion, which just gives me a little bit of energy every time I see it, versus Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, accompanied by Ty Conti, and Minoru Suzuki. What a weird match.
It was a weird match on paper, but I'm gonna be honest, probably one of my matches of the night, just with how well everything was.
It's
I love Suzuki and Eddie Kingston staring each other down. It's one of the best things I've seen.
That never gets old.
It's amazing. Shota Umino was also super impressive. No idea who he was, and really showed up in this.
They kind of explained it. When Mox first went on his New Japan tour, right after leaving WWE, and this was technically before even AEW was a thing. He got there, he won the U.S. title, and he announced himself for the G1. But if you're going to be in the G1, the days you're not doing main matches, you're doing tag matches. And Mox did not have a partner. So Mox, the pay-per-view basically before the G1 started, had a match against Shota Umino, completely destroyed him, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, he's mine now." So then they just started tagging together, and they became
very reminiscent of Yuta's story. So
exactly.
And Mox gave he gave Shooter the jacket and his old jacket, and then shortly after, And he still is technically on his excursion. He hasn't returned normally to New Japan, but yeah, he's just been killing it, and he did
Good way to
really
build them
really
back
good
up.
here. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I thought this was very impressive. Yuta being billed like a main eventer now is something that super refreshing to see, because I do think AEW is starting to hit the point where they need to bring in new people to main event level talent right now, because we're hitting the point where I'm like, okay, who on this roster could conceivably beat CM Punk? And there's like 2 people, and I think it's more fun if we have more of those numbers up there.
Dude, like Yuta starting the match with Jericho and just doing like 9 Germans in a row.
Yes.
Such a cool thing.
So sick.
Well, I just love that they're not afraid to show like big
Yeah.
main eventers getting manhandled a little bit to put over someone else, which is really
Jericho
refreshing to see.
specifically too, I feel, is really like, I mean, I don't want to say the word humble when describing Chris Jericho, but it feels like he allows himself to be like pushed around like a satisfactory amount to really like,
Yeah.
like he is like that insurmountable asshole 99% of the time, but that 1% of the time he gets his butt kicked, and it's really satisfying.
Yeah.
But like this match is like everything that I love about like the best parts of AEW and the best parts of New Japan, just almost just like all squished into one match, because you have just like, I mean, great wrestling all around. All 6 of these guys are incredible in the ring for all the different styles and moves and like characters that they do and play and stuff.
Gotta say, Sammy has like really turned the very negative original association of this heel, him and Ty, into something that's working very well. So big props for that.
I think, I agree. But just like the other thing, especially New Japan, again, I'm going to bring this up over and over again, that there's just something special with New Japan wrestlers, especially guys who are like underdogs, where it's just like, I am so behind this person. This guy has like heart, and I can feel it. And I don't even, is he going to win? I want him to. I don't even care. I want him to win right now.
A big part of it is facial expression, because I have to say, I think a lot of the New Japan wrestlers were better at controlling their facial expressions and like really showing you that they were feeling things. It's the thing that Hangman is so good at in the ring, where it stands out a lot more, I think, in American wrestling, because there's very few people who are so focused on doing that during a match that it stands out when you see it. So
I also want to say, I feel like for a lot of New Japan wrestlers, when like things start to like pick up, like there's a degree of urgency in all of their moves, like compared to like when they're doing it normally at the start. Because like I was the same way, like like as you said, Brett, you just wanted Shooter to win because like he kicked out of one of the Jericho's like moves, like, oh yeah, he's done. It's like, yeah.
And it's like the moment where you get the crowd to believe that someone from a different promotion, whom many of them probably don't know super well, are then immediately behind Shooter and are cheering for him against Chris Jericho. Is like, you've succeeded at whatever you were trying to do. It's working very well. So
him holding Jericho in his own submission and getting kicked in the face over and over again and refusing to let go for like 5 or 10 impacts is so sick. Like that is one of the coolest moments of the entire pay-per-view, and that this is the first match of the whole night. It's crazy. I love it.
Well, this is just such a great start, because I think this shows really what this card is. Of it's hard to predict how good these matches are going to be from the people in them, just because of how unknown this type of booking is. So this was a good way to start to really show you that, hey, we're going to have a good time here. So yeah, I thought this was a great build, because it also built up Blood and Guts a little bit with Yuta and Kingston's involvement. So all right, moving on to the ROH.
I was gonna say quickly before we move on to the tag match, I did want to point out this commentary team is the best.
Yes,
absolutely.
This is the best. Yeah, literally in the whole world, this is the best commentary team.
Caprice Coleman showing up a few times was great. What's the New Japan?
Kevin Kelly.
Kevin Kelly was great.
Yeah, and then just Taz and Excalibur already really worked well off of each other. I just felt like, they were having fun with everything, but like they put everyone over, and unlike some people trying to like just completely just non sequiturs. They kept it to everything that was going on. They explained everyone really well. And
which is key in a pay-per-view like this where a lot of people may not know everyone on the card.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And it feels like if we could stay on this also for just like a
absolutely
minute, it feels like literally everyone in the entire stadium was having just as much fun as the audience watching.
Yeah.
Like Excalibur and Taz and like Tony when they brought him on, and just all the people they had on the commentary team brought on for a couple matches. Like everyone was just like, "Oh, hey guys, man, this is great! I'm having so much fun. This is wonderful. Look at these guys; they're going at it. Everyone's doing so good. Like, it wasn't even like sometimes
they were
you get
happy
the
to
feeling,
be there, and that's a feeling that you
they're
don't
happy to
often
be there.
get. Like I watched the last Hell in a Cell, and nobody commentating that sounded like they were enjoying themselves, which is weird because some of the matches were pretty good. I don't know. I think this is why having less control of your commentary team and letting them go off in ways that work well, especially with Taz and Excalibur, they're just so great at going on controlled tangents and then immediately snapping back to what's going on as soon as it becomes something that needs an explanation. So, yeah, I just really appreciate the effort that goes into these commentary teams. And I loved the rotating commentary. Great idea to get different people in here and constantly like refresh the voices that the audience is hearing. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And also, we had for this entire show, we had not only the Dapper Yapper Justin Roberts, but he's the Japanese friend. Also announced all the people coming out. That was so
also
cool.
Great.
It's just like a little thing that probably adds only like I don't know, like just a little bit of extra like oomph. But it was perfect. That's like it's exactly like this is not when you think of something like a like your Jimmy Timmy Power Hours, your classic crossover events. You're thinking of it's AEW versus New Japan, but this is very much like through and through the entire show, the whole way down. It is very much no. This is AEW and New Japan, and they're working together. They're best friends now, and it's just like it's great. But the double announcers was just so cool for that like 2% extra little immersion. And I gotta imagine, for I don't really know what the Japanese crowd's interpretation of the show was, but I gotta imagine that's a little like thumbs up to them to be like, hey, yeah, this is equally for you as much as this is for the American audience.
Then I also like that this wasn't strong refs too.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Ryan?
I like that this was not billed specifically as like a confrontational pay-per-view between New Japan and AEW. It was more of, again, like that cross promotion rather than hey, let's have our two promotions completely fight and like have this manufactured anger against each other. I enjoyed that we saw like Shuda on one team and Suzuki on the other team, and we get to see a very different type of match because of that. So I thought that worked really well. All right. After that, moving on to our tag title winner takes all match: Roppongi Vice versus United Empire versus FTR for the ROH and IWJP. And was AAA on the line here as well?
No,
it was just the other two.
Yeah.
So 4 titles on the line. Excellent premise for this match because I think this meant no matter what, the titles are traveling. That's the main thing here.
Yeah.
No matter who won, at least one of these titles was going to a new area. So, of course, FTR ends up taking this home after a very, very impressive match. Of course, FTR is always very impressive, but I really liked Roppongi Vice here. I think they also did great. Great O'Khan is very fun to watch.
as he always is.
Which I have been indicted into the cult of the Great O'Khan now.
Sitting on Cash's face, posting about him being at the Heart Attack Grill and having, some fun with some woman in Las Vegas,
That is a really good Twitter.
This is one of those weird ones where the cursedness of this pay-per-view had me believing that Harwood was actually injured for a moment. So I remember I was like, hey, Brett, did he actually get injured?
Yep. And I was like, I'm like 50-50. I'm like, I know he could have actually just gotten hurt, but I have a feeling that 15 minutes from now he's gonna come sprinting down that ramp, and I'm going to do a backflip when he
Absolutely
does it.
right as well.
And then he did.
It was great. I am always open to being worked like that. So
Oh, of
Yeah.
course, it's the best. It's the best.
yeah, this is a very good underdog story for FTR, who have done, I think, maybe one of the most seamless transitions from heels to faces that I think I've ever
I
seen.
think so.
They didn't even really change anything. It was
Yeah.
really
They
like
didn't change anything.
surprising.
People just started cheering for them, and they stopped
They're-
being
They're
mean.
really good. It's hard to boo them. They're just
Yeah.
so good.
I truly just think what happened is people started cheering them. They're like, okay, let's not be mean anymore and just do everything else the same.
That's
Yeah.
it works.
Now you got a winning team.
Yeah.
So yeah, FTR now has 3 sets of titles. with
Awesome.
them,
7-star FTR.
which is great.
Pretty
7-star
crazy.
FTR is a great tagline. So yeah, I think this was a lot of fun. They did a really good job of selling that. No, I'm gonna mess up their names again. It was Cash was in the ring while Dax was out.
Yeah.
Cash did a really good job of selling the underdogness and also still participating in the match. That was my
Yeah.
concern, is that he would just like not do anything after that point. But no, he was still going in the match and participating, because this is one of those matches where you could tag yourself in if you hit the back of someone that was there. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun all around. Sneaky Roppongi Vice was pretty great.
Sneaky style.
Sneaky style. Rocky Romero was very fun as a weird way to do a match, which was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think there was a lot of fun stuff on this. Trent still looks super impressive and also looks like he could crush anyone beneath his thighs at this point.
Yeah, he is.
Dude, he's
super cut.
yoked. Yeah.
Yeah.
He got yoked up while he was injured, so yeah. All right, anything else about this match?
No, I'm glad FTR won because one of the issues New Japan really has, by having some cool tags, is they don't really pay a lot of attention to their tag division. The belts jump around a lot, a lot of the times it does sometimes feels like it's a random group of people coming together and winning the title now. But so I'm glad that Cash and Dax have this, because it's about to be the G1. They're not going to. The tags are not going to probably be the forefront of it. So have them have it for a bit. They can defend it on the New Japan Strong shows in the U.S. And because they do have a tournament for the tag division, when that comes along, they can go over there and defend it, and it'd be
Super
cool
fun
to see. Yeah.
And that's the thing, now New Japan has to pay attention to their tag division because they need a team good enough to beat FTR, which is going to be awesome to see.
That's going to be a real fun time. All right, moving on to what was probably my personal match of the night. Pac versus Miro versus Malachi Black versus Clark Connors. This is the Wild Group, the most cursed part of this, of Clark Connors having to come replace Ishii after injury.
Yeah.
Right
And
beforehand.
I ended up being right. Because I had a suspicion that Ishii probably wasn't actually fully injured. He probably had something wrong with him, but since he's going to be in the G1, they want him to rest. And he was.
Yeah.
He wrestled this morning.
Okay.
So yeah, they probably just didn't want. He probably did tweak his knee. They probably didn't want him to go. But man, oh man, did Clark Connors really
super
show
impressive.
Up here. He did really good in front of an audience where I'm pretty sure
nobody had any clue who he
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, great presentation. He did such a good job
Yeah.
of getting the crowd behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a match between 3 big meaty men and Clark Connors. So he had the underdog energy very quickly, and that kept the crowd very interested whenever he was in the ring. Which is good, because they managed to avoid the thing that sometimes happens when you have like an underdog like this that people don't know well, which is where they're just in there to be pinned at the end.
Yeah.
And Clark Connors was in there to be pinned at the end, but he didn't look like it for most of the match.
Mm-hmm.
So
this whole show, pretty much, like, with all the things that had to be switched around, like, sometimes it's pretty easy to tell, like, oh, this is a match. Not that they had to like throw together in 5 seconds, but like there's supposed to be something else here. This person's very obviously just a fill-in. It didn't really ever feel like that for the whole pay-per-view at all, pretty much. Like, it all felt like
I mean, he got to
was
put Miro
how
through a
it's supposed to
table.
be.
Like, that's
Exactly.
you got to have trust in someone to do that. So yeah, I think there's definitely a really good call for him to be the replacement, and to very quickly get this match sorted out, because I know this was the one that was the most like last minute change that had to happen. So at least you already have Malachi, Pac, and Miro, which is 3 of the 4 things you need for a great match in this 4-way. So Clark Connors was the 4th, and I'm glad to see that he got a lot of pops from the crowd.
Yeah,
Pac took this home.
Yeah,
Pac is a champion now.
I was really glad to see that too, because again, in a situation where I was talking about Goto, it always feels like Pac was the bridesmaid here. In AEW, he does all these cool matches, but he's never won the big one. And
it's always been, people have always said, hey, his travel schedule is going to be the problem and why he's never going to get a title. Guess what? Atlantic champion.
You can defend it wherever.
Go defend it wherever you want. So, yeah, I do hope this title travels. That's my hope for this, is that it's not locked into being an AEW only title, and that it does end up traveling somewhere, because I think that's a great way to just build some excitement for people outside of AEW and get some crossover potential. So, yeah, I think Pac winning this was definitely the right call. They did not make Miro or Black look weak, which is always very important in a match like this. So yeah, I'm just excited to have this here. Pac and Malachi, still, I think, 2 of the smoothest going against each other wrestlers I've seen. It's along with Pac and Buddy Murphy. So that set of people, man, they are so smooth. It's great.
Also, very surprised to see Miro standing across from Malachi, and they are the same height. I did not realize how large of a man Malachi was.
Malachi is very tall.
He's very tall. He's not as meaty as some of the others, but those kicks still look like a shotgun. So I'm very happy with this match. All right. Yeah. I did also like the detail at the end where Black was the one that got like the finisher done on him, and then Pac just moves to go pin the other guy.
Yeah.
I like the thing there of him knowing, okay, this match is probably going to keep going if he attempted to get it on Malachi. So it's a fun tease that the crowd knows these 2 are not finished necessarily. So. All right. Move on to our next match, Bullet Club versus Dudes with Attitudes, which is another one of the matches that became a 3-way.
Yeah, originally Hikuleo was supposed to be on the Bullet Club side, and then Hiromu was supposed to be on the Dudes with Attitude side, and Hiromu got a fever, very close to it. They didn't want to risk it, stayed back. Hiromu was really upset because he had custom gear made. For it, and but they still did their best with it. Darby was over. It was awesome seeing Shingo in front of an American crowd.
Absolutely.
Then Bullet Club comes out, Young Bucks and Phantasmo, and they're like, "Wait a minute, where's Sting?" And then they show someone who looks like Sting up there, up on the rafters, but then they turn around and no, he's on the entrance tunnel, and he just dives on all of them, and that's such a cool way to start the match.
The most powerful 60-year-old man alive.
This I messaged this to someone, but I was like, Sting is like the meme where it's like, please, my grandpa's in the hospital, but stop praying for him. He's too strong now. Like that's what Sting is. Sting is, he's like, he doesn't even seem like real. Like that is just like a straight up like 10 or 12 foot jump, and like
he keeps doing it. He keeps doing
it. It gets better every time. Like they had the midair pictures of him with like his trench coat like flapping in the wind, and his neck just screaming. It looks like he looks like an insane person. And like through the whole match, like he just like he does the thing where he just like no sells, and it's awesome, and then he just runs all over the place like he's not 62, and he and Shingo like trading off moves on the same guy and then giving each other a thumbs up at the end was like legitimately like, okay, that is like that is like as
It's
cool
a
as like
fever dream of a
Vegeta.
sequence.
That's like Vegeta and Goku like fist bumping. Like that's the content I want to see on my AEW New Japan pay-per-view. That is
I just
literally
like
perfect.
struggle to imagine anyone else close to Sting's age that could go this hard. Maybe
No,
Suzuki,
nobody.
but Suzuki's not quite that old yet.
Suzuki's not that old, but I mean that's probably the best comparison we have
Mhm.
because I can't think of anyone else around that age going.
Hey,
like
Ric
that
Flair's
we
gonna
did
try.
then. And he's gonna fail.
Really, really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think this was a really impressive thing. Darby got thrown around a lot, and of course looked very impressive getting thrown around a lot. So
I am always a big Phantasmo fan, and I'm really glad that the rest of the wrestling world gets to see how much of an absolute dick he is.
yeah,
Yeah, great.
for
so
sure.
funny.
Him doing the backflips into the back rake is always a good thing to see.
Yeah.
Kicking people, low, the nipple twister.
Yep.
Which
And
prompted,
Takagi
of course,
also very impressive.
Oh, as always. But the nipple twist, of course, prompting Taz to comment on the fact that Tony's nipples are probably pierced, and Tony's reaction was, because they did have Tony Schiavone call only this match, which is a shame. I wish he was on for more, but he was like, this is one of the times where like he just sat down and was like, "Hey guys, how's it going? This show's going great."
I just came back from massaging JR's leg. I'm like, whoa.
All right. Yeah, I just think this was all around a really good showing for these guys. Less high profile than many of the other matches. I think this one started really hard, but didn't quite get back up to that level of excitement. But it's hard to match Sting jumping off an entrance ramp, so I don't really blame anyone for that. All right, moving on to our only women's match on the card: Thunder Rosa versus Toni Storm for the AEW Women's Title. This is a weird one. Brett and I talked a lot about this while we were watching this, because both Toni and Thunder Rosa are very good wrestlers. This was not treated like an important match on this, despite being for a championship. And this has been like a consistent problem with a lot of women's title matches, especially Thunder Rosa's, where she'll get shafted on a pay-per-view and then have a complete banger of a match the next Dynamite. So yeah, I just think this was poorly conceived as part of this card, because I think they wanted to have a high-profile women's match on the card, but for whatever reason, they're not doing something with Stardom or any other Japanese promotion that has women's wrestling. So it's just this weird thing where now, okay, this is the only women's match on the card. There's no build around it. And despite both of these people being great, they're both from the same company and a cross-promotional show. So it just has the complete, like, vortex of a lack of excitement around it, which is a real shame, because I think this match itself was actually very good, but it just suffered from being misplaced.
Another match in a sea of like things that felt a lot more deliberate, and
Rosa's gear is maybe my favorite gear that I've seen Thunder Rosa wear, though. That was incredible.
She keeps one-upping herself at this point. I'm very, like, just genuinely, I don't even...
She's one of the few people that could match, like, a Stardom wrestler in presentation, I think. Yeah.
Which, because worth pointing out, both Thunder and Toni Storm were at Stardom at different points.
Yes.
At some point in their career. Which still, like, they didn't really... Excalibur mentioned it, but they really didn't play off of it. And it's like, sure, we didn't know this while it was happening, but in retrospect, this match was in between Sting and Shingo and Darby and the Bucks and
maybe the best single
Orange
match this year.
Cassidy and Will Ospreay, and it's just like, Tony Khan, buddy, I love you, but you cannot expect me to even give one single shit about this. I'm so sorry, but I just, like, I can't. The match was great, but it was just like, there was
no build, there was no presentation.
Yeah, there was no hype at all around it, unfortunately.
Which is a shame, because it was a really good singles match, I think. All right. Moving on past that vortex of excitement, we have Orange Cassidy versus Will Ospreay, which was another fever dream of a match.
Oh my god!
Surprise best match of the night. easily.
I don't think it was a surprise.
I don't think it was either, but
I think a lot of people who don't watch New Japan, this was probably a surprise too, and a lot of people who don't like Orange Cassidy very much, this was a surprise too. Because Cassidy didn't do his like normal slow thing.
he did not.
He was
Straight out
on
of the
100% the whole time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this was extremely fun. The pace that these two go at is just like unmatchable by pretty much anyone else in most wrestling, I would say. I think maybe Darby gets close sometimes, but these two just are so smooth when you watch them go, and they're so good at playing off of their opponent. It just was extremely impressive, I think, the whole way through.
Will has gotten, because I've watched New Japan for so many years now, and Will has just gotten so much better. Like, obviously, he's always been impressive doing all these flips and stuff, but like, once he started to like bulk up more, and then when he did make it like his change to the heavyweight, and he started just to really like do a lot more than just like, oh, I'm the flippy guy. He started to do like a lot more cool power stuff. You know, Stormbreaker. He did the Hidden Blade. It's just it's such
a unique
style.
So
smooth, and he can pretty much do anything, in my opinion.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see multiple matches, just a whole feud between him and Pac, because gravity doesn't apply to either of them.
Yeah.
And it would just be incredible.
Yeah. I mean, this is just one of those matches that I think there was not a ton of quote-unquote storytelling going into this match, and it was for the IWGP US title. There was a title on the line here. Will Ospreay does eventually win this match in a very impressive set of finishes. Where Cassidy, like, super cool dodging sequence that he always does, and then just doesn't,
is able to pull
get it out the last one.
The stunner out of nowhere. Break like in 2.9. It's just a really cool like story.
That's what we realized. I miss a lot of AEW wrestlers don't pull out stunners and DDTs very often.
Orange pretty much does it most of the time. So it's like Mox having one as his finisher.
Yeah.
So I like seeing some more classical, just twist it out and get some of those moves that can be happening very quickly. Because when you're watching like a Bucks match requires a lot of setup for most of what they do. So you can generally kind of like predict things a second or two before they come out. But with the way that this match was played, I think this is the same in a lot of matches that Pac is in and that Ray Phoenix are in. You end up just not knowing what's going to happen at any individual moment, and they pull out this incredible sequence out of nowhere. So I think that's what really is the kind of electrifying bit of this. So I think this might also signal Cassidy getting a stronger push.
Yeah, I mean, that's back in action.
Yeah, because it seems like now that he's like fully healed. I mean, he's already like wrestled like 3 matches technically this past week. They're going to be using him a lot more, and especially considering how many people are out. So
I think especially with Statlander and Trent and Chuck moving away from the best friends kind of goofy side.
Yeah,
that we might also be seeing Orange Cassidy move to be more of a serious like singles competitor, which I'm not all for.
Denim on than usual, therefore denoting his serious character arc.
Indicating his serious character. I love it.
JR's on commentary for this match. Forgot to mention that.
He was.
For the rest of the night.
I thought we were going to be a whole pay-per-view without JR, but I'm going to be honest with you. He came on, and I think it probably was just he wasn't like super tired from having been on a whole pay-per-view so far, and he was fine. He wasn't nearly as.
I think that's what they need to do with him, because they did the same with Blood and Guts, and I think it just works. I think it just works.
Because then he can have all of his energy for one match and like be on point with it.
Yeah. Just have Taz can do it a lot longer than he can.
Yeah, and especially like keep him away from commentating on women's matches, because he just doesn't need to. He says things sometimes for those
he sounds so bored.
He does, and he just says things where it's like, should you be describing a person like that? Okay,
language it's okay to use.
Yeah, but like he just kind of continued all the commentators bouncing off each other and being like relatively happy to see what's going on. Like obviously, we joke about it, but he is JR. He doesn't. This is New Japan. can't remember anyone's name if they're
You
not
know
already
what?
in the company he's in.
Even when he was commentating for New Japan US shows, he didn't even remember half of the people's name. I think for one of the first newer New Japan shows that they did in the US, like when they crowned the US champion, where Kenny won that, I'm 99% sure like an image got leaked out that JR had it was a laminated sheet of paper with the wrestler's face and their name like right underneath it. It's like, come on, man.
It's
I know you're old, but like this is your job. You should know them.
exactly, yeah. And I think isn't it like April or something? Like his contract is up, and until then he's going to be doing, or like after that point he's going to be doing only like sometimes showing up. I feel
I
like
think
may
that
not.
is what is rumored.
Yeah, that came out like a while ago, but I
Yeah,
think they're
it's
only
been
just
interesting
starting
because I
to.
think JR repeatedly has said that he wants to be commentating until he can't anymore, essentially.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I
Getting to
think
that point, buddy.
I think that's what's happening. Is I think he's realized that
Yeah.
he's starting to hit the point where he can't be on 100% of the
I mean,
time.
the man had cancer too.
It's-
And
Yeah,
this is not like a
yeah.
shot at JR because I think JR
Yeah,
is
he's-
definitely a legendary commentator, but he's getting up in age and he's having trouble keeping up.
exactly, yeah. And when you're on live television, you're on for a whole like 4-hour show or something that people can watch and they spend money to see it. You're gonna be subject to critique. So
Yeah,
that's
and
just
I
how that
do
works.
still like him showing up for big matches, like having him pull
It
that
works.
for Blood and Guts, where he can be on point the whole time because he hasn't had to spend the rest of this like 2-hour segment commentating other stuff. So
Exactly, yeah.
yeah, I think this is a good middle ground until he does eventually retire. Because man, I hope JR is in a good state to retire.
Yeah,
I imagine
seriously.
he
just
has
gonna
to be.
deserve it.
So yeah, I think he's truly just still in it right now, just because he likes doing it. But I think he's hitting the point where it's starting to become harder. All right, move on to Zack Sabre Jr. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
Yes. I think for this match too, considering this also had someone be replaced, I think we should do a rundown of everything else that was supposed to happen with the show apparently.
That's a good idea.
So
Yeah.
before some stuff got out, it wasn't supposed to be Orange and Osprey. It was supposed to be Andrade and Osprey.
Really?
for the
I didn't
US
know this.
title
Andrade
match.
was supposed to do something, yeah.
Yeah, so what it was supposed to probably be was Andrade was supposed to be with LIJ, so Naito, Shingo, and all that. And this was going to be leading to overall more of an LIJ versus United Empire feud. However, Andrade, Phoenix, and Penta, I believe, couldn't really appear on it because they had some prior ties to CMLL, which is New Japan's promotion in Mexico that they work out of. But now they work with AAA, and CML and AAA hate each other.
Great.
So that caused a lot of issues for Andrade, Penta, and Phoenix showing up on here. So that's why that kind of got thrown together. Like it ultimately worked. As we said, Orange and Osprey was like one of our favorite matches here. But yeah, there's that tidbit. The other tidbit was the Young Bucks were originally going to be planned to be in that IWGP title match, and they're supposed to win it. Yes.
Really? Oh my god.
That I haven't heard.
Gato, the booker for New Japan, he cut the guy, cool hat, long beard, came out with Jay White. He's the booker. Big Young Bucks fans, and they were the original plan was to actually make it an AEW versus IWGP tag title match. But the things that happened with the ladder match. With Jeff,
yeah.
Young Bucks had to win the titles there, and it just kind of got, thrown out the door. Yeah.
I think especially with that one, this is the better outcome.
Yeah, I think we've gotten a better.
Yeah.
Thing.
Now we get FTR and versus Young Bucks probably again in the near future, and that's going to be insane with how much line.
They can like build. It can be billed as like the biggest tag team match championship probably ever because of all the different stakes on the line.
Yep. Exactly.
And now it leads to our Zack Sabre Jr. versus mystery opponent match. Danielson, unfortunately,
what a shame.
Out. Yeah.
So it's kind of a shame because I would have loved to see that match, but hey, what we got was pretty good. So
yeah,
this is true.
I'm not going to be disappointed.
he said up to the according to Tony, leading up to it, he said he felt fine. Last couple days is when he started to feel like maybe I'm not 100%, which I'd rather Brian Danielson not push himself because I don't want to see him get really hurt.
Yeah, the story that I was told is that same thing happened, but Danielson said he would be fine to compete, like he would do what he needed to compete, and then Tony came up and was like, we have an opportunity here to debut someone in like the most dramatic way.
Yeah.
And that was like the decision that cinched it is, hey, we can get someone in and over really, really well by doing this.
Yeah. And that person ended up
Claudio Castagnoli.
And oh boy, was he immediately over.
Oh yeah.
Literally 1 millisecond. People already had their signs ready. It was like, wow, okay.
People were so ready. Formerly Cesaro. Very exciting to see him here. I've never been like a huge WWE guy, at least not with anything aside from NXT, so I don't have maybe the attachment to him that some people might have.
Yeah.
But I still think his like expressions and like he's very expressive in the ring, which is a huge factor of getting over so well, and I think that did him had a really great showing. It was very entertaining to watch him. So I think even for someone that doesn't know who Cesaro used to be, seeing Claudio show up here was very exciting. Zack Sabre Jr. also great, having never seen this man wrestle anything before.
He's really good.
Very good.
Really good. And like that's the thing is like a lot of people like kind of take shots at him because he is, and he's gotten a lot like bulkier, but like he's like he's like smaller, he's not too big, but like he can wrap you up in so many different ways, and it just they all look brutal. And I think obviously Danielson and him would have been perfect, but this is like again the next best thing, like because again Claudio's is a very technical, stiff guy. I mean, all the uppercuts he was doing, and he almost literally took him out right away, and it was so good. And then Zack Sabre just working the arm and all like every single part of Claudio's body. It was really, really fun to see.
Yeah, this is great. I also think this has led to potentially a huge story hook for Forbidden Door 2 whenever that happens. So that Danielson and ZSJ match can be even better.
That's the good thing. If there's anything good to come out from the people that were missing from this specific card, is that if and when they do this again, which they literally have to, they're going to be there, and barring something horrible happening again, is that fine? Like now you have an extra year of build up for my mom finally gets to see Hiromu, and I know she's gonna love him immediately because he has really, really big dumb hair and his outfits are great. And then you're finally gonna get to see the Zack Sabre Jr. versus Danielson match. It's gonna be great, but you get all these other things that we might not have seen otherwise instead.
That were also very good, but aren't where you immediately think of. They're not the things that come to mind first, but they are very good.
Exactly.
So, I think this has led to a really good show overall. With the singles matches were good. I'm glad we did get a fair number of singles matches here.
Yeah.
Despite this being majority tag and multi-mans, we got our nice 2 men's singles matches and our women's match, as well as our big main event match we'll get to.
Wouldn't be a New Japan show without mainly tags.
That's kind of how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a big tag fan, so I don't mind.
Especially with AEW, the tag division is like
stacked as hell. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was also the point where, I don't know about you guys, but this was the point where it's like, wait a minute, we still have 2 like huge matches left.
Oh, wait a minute, we forgot the cool part after the Orange Cassidy match.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with Katsuyori Shibata coming out.
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Shibata came out.
Yeah, and if you don't know a lot about him, he is one of the coolest wrestlers ever. Incredibly stiff, was just awesome. He got injured in a match against Okada a couple years ago, and he's been recovering since, and he's made a few appearances in New Japan, like doing some small stuff, and then he had a match against Zack Sabre Jr., at the most recent Wrestle Kingdom, and it's really nice to see him there. I didn't because he runs the LA dojo, but I didn't expect to see him here for some reason, and then yeah, it was just awesome to see him there.
Yeah, it's a nice little walkout to see this Bruce Lee looking man wander to the middle of the ring.
Slap the shit out of everybody.
Great. Loved it. All right. Moving on to our four-way IWGP title match. We had Adam Cole was in it. This was the Adam Cole match. I'm forgetting already because Adam Cole got injured. I was like, you couldn't have been in a match. Okada, Hangman Adam Page, and Jay White were all in this four-way. This is a stacked four-way.
Yeah, seriously.
It started off with the crowd going crazy too.
Yeah,
they're just so ready for this match, and
because this is really one anyone could win, and it'd be great.
Yeah,
I felt like it. Yeah,
and what we got was pretty good. I don't want to say anything bad because 99% of this match was really good.
Yep.
And the
1% that isn't is because someone got very badly injured.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was scary.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, I felt like Adam and Jay played up really well, and I like how they it was a four-way match. And New Japan normally doesn't do big multi-man matches like this. They've only had one triple threat ever, and that was Cody, Kota Ibushi, and Kenny Omega for the title. And they don't do a lot of big multi-man matches for their titles, so it's cool to see it. But I think they crafted it really well, where Adam had Page had Cole, Page had Jay White, Okada and Cole, Okada and Jay White, and then it built up to finally see Page and then Okada. And they, from what we got to see a little bit of it, it was really, really awesome to see.
Made me really want to see a singles match with these two.
Exactly.
Yes,
exactly. But it felt like it was building. It was about to reach its awesome New Japan climax that they usually have, but Okada at some point did his kind of Michinoku driver-esque move, and Adam Cole took it pretty rough, it looked like.
Yeah.
And then he was trying to go for the Rainmaker, and Cole just kind of fell down off of it. Jay White ran in, hit something on Okada, and then pinned Cole, and that was the match.
Yep.
From
what we know, this was an audible call by Okada.
Yeah.
From what we've heard since.
Yeah.
Which was probably the best thing to have happened.
Yes,
because it does seem like Adam Cole had a serious head injury at the moment, and even if it's not a serious long-term thing, so we really don't know yet. Hopefully it isn't. But even if it was, this is the best response to just very quickly get things under control, because
pin him, get him out of there. We don't want to try to make him get even more hurt.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that the only real loss of that is I think they wanted to more show the moment of betrayal with Jay White and Adam Cole, and that didn't really happen here, which is a shame. But I think at the same time, this still will get across the story they want to get across. It's just unfortunate timing with Red Dragon being injured and Adam Cole being injured. I think the storyline this was building to might be on the back burner for a month or two. So
but I also don't think it's beyond recouping after the fact. I feel like they can probably still respin interest into it and stuff.
Yeah. Because as long as the Bucks are still active, I think they can keep the Elite storyline alive to a degree, and then just hold out until someone else can return. They can make a big deal out of either Red Dragon or Adam Cole or Kenny at some point, and figure out this tangled mess of Super Elite going on right now. So yeah. Aside from that, I think this was really fun. Okada, who I don't think I've ever seen wrestle before. I might have seen 10 minutes of a match he was in at some point, but very impressive. Jay White, also very impressive.
Yeah,
so,
both of them are incredible.
Yeah, but you keep hearing everyone always talks about the coin drop, and then it happens. You're like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It's a really good simple entrance cue for Okada to just walk into.
Which, when he did make an appearance on Dynamite, he was instantly over. Everyone knew who he was, which was surprising.
Because I think even if you don't watch NJPW, you've probably heard Okada's name a few times, and are like, oh, this guy's a big deal. So yeah, I think the huge pop for him was very appropriate. Hopefully Cole is okay soon, and it doesn't have any lasting issues from this. It seems like, from what we've heard, it's probably just a concussion. I say just a concussion, but
yeah,
nothing more.
A lot
serious
worse
than
things
that's
could
what it
have
seems like.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems very familiar to what happened with Lance Archer, where it's just kind of a freak
Yeah.
accident that led to some unfortunate situations for a couple months. But hopefully he is fine soon. At least he can catch up on his backlog of video games.
It's true. He was talking about that on Twitter. I saw him posting.
All right, moving on to our main event: Jon Moxley versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. Great overall. I don't have a lot to describe in this match because I was kind of in a fugue state at this point of the sheer amount of high quality ring things that had happened in the last like 2.5 hours at this point. So yeah, I think this was a really good build to this match. This is the one that felt like a big deal, and I think the match that had the most proper build up.
Yeah.
Despite it probably being an accident. Because of the interim world championship thing. But it was swung into, I think, the best thing they could do here. So
yeah. And
I think this was really, really good.
One of my favorite parts about it is, you knew Mox was gonna win, but like the crowd was still willing Tanahashi on, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Well, because the idea of this being for an interim championship puts the doubt in your mind that anything could happen at any moment with it.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
You don't know what's gonna happen with this thing, and it would have been weird for Mox to lose it, but weirder things have happened before.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think Tanahashi was super impressive for, again, having never seen him really wrestle before. I think this is a very impressive match. He had a lot of crowd energy behind him. Again, the presentation is on point for all the New Japan people coming in. So yeah, I thought this was overall an extremely good match. Not as exciting as some of the other singles matches we've had.
I think it was just due to, again, burnout, at least for me at that point.
Yeah, burnout, and I also think like just the style of Moxley and Tanahashi is not as bullet pacing as Ospreay and Cassidy. So
both very deliberate.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fine. It still made it a very good match, but it is for the finale of a match that's coming right after an intense 4-way and like very crazy technical match with ZSJ and Claudio. I think it's kind of building up to the more like brawling style of wrestling, which definitely I think hits a little different than those.
Yeah. The people in New Japan has a way of handling, like, I don't know exactly how old Tanahashi is, but like, the commentators are talking about how his knees don't work too good anymore. He can't do the moves he used to anymore because of how many times he did the high fly flow or whatever. And it's just like, this guy, like, clearly, like, if you just look at him, you can kind of like see also just like he's nearly misshapen. He is so barrel chested. He is incapable of doing moves that probably a lot of other people could do, but just like the way that he gets everyone behind him makes none of that matter. Like how many times has a New Japan involved match just involved just chops for 80% of the time, and it's just like
the
give
first
me some more
Suzuki
chops.
match that happened in AEW, and everyone was behind it. It was great.
Exactly, yeah. It's like
because it tells the story you want to tell really well.
And I don't know. They just have this way of handling moves that are, I don't want to say any wrestling move is like easy, because I have no place saying that I've never wrestled a match before in my life, and if I did, I would probably
not
die.
As visually impressive.
Exactly, like something just like a regular old suplex, or just like a chop or a kick or something like that. Something about the way that New Japan wrestlers carry out doing those things, and how the crowd knows somehow subconsciously how to react to them, is like these guys just they just do it in a way that's just like different. I don't even know how to describe it exactly, but it's just like the simpler moves that are what 90% of New Japan matches that I've seen are most of the time, except for the big like climactic ending, like 2 minutes where they throw a million things at each other. Like most of the matches are just like, you will be thrown against the outside barrier 10 times, and it's going to look really painful and horrible, and you're going to fall over and everyone's going to believe it, or you're going to get chopped a million times, or your chest is going to be purple, or you're just going to be thrown outside the ring or something like that. It's like, that's simple, but it's really,
Very
really,
effective.
really effective. Yeah. Which I like I don't know. I don't know how to what imaginary advice to give to someone like Jake Hager in AEW whose moveset is pretty on the simple side. He just like throws punches and does some mat wrestling and suplexes and stuff. I feel like with kind of like a presentation change like that could just work,
That could be
but I don't know
Wardlow.
how to do that. Exactly, you could just
It
be
is
Wardlow.
Wardlow.
It is just Wardlow, isn't
Who is
it?
just one of the most over wrestlers in AEW right now.
Yeah.
So I do think like there's absolutely a place for this. It just you have to really control it. Jade is pretty similar too. She
Yeah.
has a very aggressive, grounded style most of the time. Aside from the one time she's attempted like the top rope Jaded, that did not look great. But
A good
yeah, that's
frog
not a huge
splash though
issue.
that one time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it's definitely something that can be worked around very easily if you are good at presenting how you're doing things in a way that is exciting to watch. And I think this was definitely a match that had that, especially Tanahashi. Tanahashi is kind of electric to see move because he just has a way of like getting around in the ring that looks different, even though it's a little bit stiff. But I think it was very impressive overall. And this is like end of the night. Moxley takes the title home. I think everyone's leaving satisfied from this pay-per-view in a way that not many AEW pay-per-views have had recently. Because it feels like there was not a bad match on the card. I don't think you can say like the women's match was not amazing in terms of like build, but the match itself was great. So I think there's a lot of like compared to many other AEW pay-per-views, this was I think the most consistently high delivering.
Yeah.
For me at least, and I've talked about this like almost every single time that we talk about a pay-per-view, where it's like I hold that first Full Gear and that first Revolution in such high regard, where I don't know if it's just like nostalgia or if like some of those matches or like the whole pay-per-view entirely really were actually that magically good, but I just like every single one afterward is just like, yeah, this is great or this is good, but like I don't know, a couple moments kind of had me like scared where like this person gets
Yeah.
hurt or like this match was like clearly like two matches in a row of like bathroom break time and I just couldn't care less. For me, this is the best pay per view that AEW's done, and it's even more incredible for me because it shows potential for the next Forbidden Door to be even better to fill those gaps of the people that weren't here this time.
It's like
And have
these weren't
more
even the
interaction.
quote unquote best matches we could have had. This is like
Exactly, yeah.
4 or 5 of these matches are the B team.
Exactly, yeah. This feels like me watching Revolution #1 and Full Gear #1 in college. This felt like that again, where just like every single match that happened, I was just like, wow, this is I am not sad at all. This is all like incredible the whole way through. It was great to feel that from an AEW pay-per-view again, because I legitimately thought that, oh, I must just be holding those in such high regard to an unnecessary like rose-tinted goggles like degree that it's never gonna change. But I was proven thankfully wrong that
Yeah,
they could
they
capture
pulled
the
it out
magic
for
yet
this for
again.
sure.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing what they do going forward, and I hope this partnership between NJPW and AEW continues for a long time because it's exciting to see, even if it only happens like once a year. I think it's a very exciting time where we're kind of getting like almost an American equivalent of a G1 type deal now of this crazy cross promotional thing happening on TV for people to watch, which
Yeah.
is very exciting to see. All right, we have one other thing to talk about. We got Blood and Guts.
Woo!
This was I think a very fun night. We're recording this on the Sunday after the pay-per-view, so it's been a week. We've also seen Rampage. I don't think there's anything to note in Rampage aside from the Rumble that we'll talk about very briefly.
Yeah, we could talk about that, yeah.
But the Blood and Guts match I think was pretty good all around.
Yeah, it was a lot of
notable thing of Santana getting injured very early.
Yeah.
Which is
Like, almost
another shame, because
immediately,
it
which
felt like Proud and
sucks.
Powerful were about to get another push.
Did you hear though that apparently like Santana and Ortiz don't talk to each other anymore?
Really?
What?
Yeah.
I had not heard that, no.
It's a rumor. Like Santana's been wanting out for like
Oh,
the company, but
no.
Ortiz just like really likes being there.
I mean, I
No.
could believe that because of the way that
Yeah.
AEW has handled them.
Yeah.
It does feel like there's been, I don't want to say a lack of respect, but a lack of push for these two. And I think with especially Swerve and Keith Lee,
Yeah.
and Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs coming in and kind of getting the push that maybe was originally meant for them.
I think it feels like it sometimes, yeah.
I wonder if there's a bit of resentment from that, but if there is, I don't think it showed in the match.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Because like Santana's been taking on singles bookings, and Ortiz really just hasn't just taken AEW stuff. So people are also saying like that's probably why like Ortiz gets some of the bigger matches. Like we had a match with Jericho and stuff like that.
And I don't even think Santana was there for that at all.
No,
right?
he wasn't.
He wasn't at ringside.
No.
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, it could be any number of things, but I think that's a good note to have of it just being an odd thing to put together with these two. So I wonder that could definitely be why some of the plans with them have changed over the past year or so.
Which
But
sucks.
It
But
yeah,
let's
this is a great tag
they're
team.
awesome. Yeah. But getting back to the match, it was really good. I think it was really smart to have Sammy and Claudio start.
Yep.
Because it's just like it's a thorough line throughout. Like you're gonna always have people to do all the cool stuff with,
Yeah.
and then because like I said it immediately. I think I said to Brett, like you could just tell the difference of how like Claudio like throws his strikes compared to Sammy. It's insane how good Claudio is. Not saying Sammy's bad. Sammy's good at a lot of other things, but like just like
He is not a striker.
Yeah.
Those uppercuts, man, they're so impactful.
Yeah. And there are a lot of really cool spots here. I thought Hager looked actually really good here.
He did.
Like,
He looked intimidating.
You bring him out.
They finally succeeded in making Hager look legitimately intimidating.
You bring him out in his one match every 6 months, and that's great.
I actually we say that almost a little bit sarcastically, but I do think it is a role that Hager fits pretty well into.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he can carry a singles match, and
no,
I don't think a lot of people can carry a singles match with him because he's such a large man.
Yeah.
That a lot of the moves that would make a match carryable, I think just wouldn't work.
I always think about that lovely Mox Hager match in the empty Jags arena with only JR on commentary.
Literally a nightmare.
I thought Hager legitimately looked pretty good in this, and I think this is a good role for him as Jericho's kind of enforcer. And I do like that they've kind of pulled back together some of the old inner circle people into this JAS and just fully gone heel. Like I think this is working really well for Sammy, especially.
I love their outfits too.
Yeah,
they look like
great job with the outfits.
Yeah.
I hope they do something with Ty as well, and don't just let her sit on the sidelines, because I think that's something that's been happening. Is Ty's just kind of existed on the sidelines, and they've kind of forgotten that she's an accomplished wrestler as well.
I think Brett brought it up, so I'll let him talk about it if he wants. But I think Brett wants another certain someone to join the Blackpool Combat Club.
Oh yeah.
We might have also talked about this.
Yes, you probably also brought it up too. But I mean, like, didn't Ruby run out at some point?
Yeah, she did.
And just like inexplicably, just like whenever like Eddie's wrapped up in some wacky Eddie moment, Ruby's always there as like an interview, like talking about it. And it's like, okay, hello, Ruby Soho. But it would be perfect, if they're gonna continue this feud for like one more big thing or something, and they want to have like a mixed tag or something like that. I think having Ruby as the counterpart to Ty would be perfect. And also just having Ruby in Blackpool Combat Club, I think just kind of
good thing to do with her.
Exactly, yeah.
Because right now she kind of feels like she doesn't. It feels like she hasn't had a lot of direction.
Yeah, And haha, funny, fitting for
for her
Destination
gimmick.
Unknown. But I guess like you could make the argument that like, oh, she's too like sweet or whatever, but like I don't care.
William Regal
Like
can get that fixed real quick.
exactly, he can sell me a hamster and tell me that it's gonna like kill someone's whole family, and I'll believe him because he
Yeah.
just knows how to do that.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that absolutely would be a good fit for Ruby, but
yeah.
not sure if we'll see it.
That. Other things in the match. I really liked how Matt Menard and Angelo are the perfect
Oh, yeah.
charity cats. Like Angelo
Yeah.
Parker came in, and he was just kind of like, I don't want to be here.
Running away.
Yeah.
Eventually
also
finding
that
himself
scene-
upside down outside the ring.
Yeah,
Was pretty great.
bloody
Yeah, it
was.
was brutal.
When Eddie got in, he had the little, it was rubbing alcohol, and
Mhm.
I think it fell out of the ring,
It did.
like out of the cage, and Ty was, because they showed it on camera, and Ty was trying to get it in, but he saw it got everywhere. So I think I think they had to completely remove a spot from the match, because if I were to assume, I'd imagine Jericho probably would have gone through a flaming table.
Yes, they got the table out and everything, and a bottle of alcohol. You would have think that that's something like
Especially
that.
because Eddie got burned by the wizard. So
Yes,
I
exactly.
feel like that. Unfortunately, that spot gets
Maybe
thrown
save that
out,
spot for a
but-
singles match. That
Yeah,
seems
like,
like
They could still bring it back. Yeah.
Yeah.
because I think it's easy enough
Um,
to believe that wasn't planned, especially because the last burning table spot they did not end so well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
With Cody getting significant burns for a very long time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
hey, tip: don't use vinyl top tables
Yep.
over a burning table spot. There's a reason people don't do that.
Mm.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think I got nervous because it looked like they had a vinyl top table
Yeah.
on there, and I saw the rubbing alcohol and was like, okay, are we gonna just do the same thing and not learn our lesson? I'm not sure if it was, but it looked like the same type of table, and so
Yeah.
I got a little nervous at one point,
Yeah.
but they didn't do it, which I think was probably the right call, even if they had it. 'Cause I don't think it was super well thought out in the instance of this match.
Because I think also
especially with
the
everything
match
else
didn't
going
really
on.
need it.
Yeah, I didn't need it.
Yeah. I also like the pace of this match changed very quickly throughout the entire time.
Yeah.
It flowed based on how many people were in, and like the end of it is a lot slower but more tense because everyone is on the top. And
Yeah.
there's this big they made a bigger deal this time out of the size and height of this thing. And
Yes.
like the fact that people were truly afraid to go off of it, because like Sammy Guevara, who normally is the kind of person you'd think to just jump off, did not want to go off the edge of this.
Yeah.
He was like looking real nervous until he eventually gets flipped off. Anyway, but
I think
it
also,
sold
like,
the height really well.
the camera work that AEW's been doing as of like really recently has just been like top notch. Like
Yeah.
all the different angles that they have and how
They're not missing spots anymore.
They're really not. Yeah, if they like they do sometimes, but it's just because they're switching between so many things.
It's usually
like,
because there's something else going on instead of
it's with two rings, especially during the battle royale that we'll talk about in a bit. Like there were like a couple things that missed, but it's two whole matches going on at the same time. It's going to happen no matter what. But like just the amount of like big sweeping shots of everything going on, like Revenge of the Sith style on top of the the huge cage. Like I don't know, it just felt so cinematic. And especially the huge ending of Sammy being thrown off into a thing that they did not show. There was no Chekhov's gun that was to be shown later. They did not show that big
they're
cardboard
very
cube.
careful to not show you the gigantic timekeeper's
It's
table.
because
I
like
believe commentary shouts out it's through the timekeeper's table at the end. I'm like, that is the largest table I've ever seen.
JR, listen, JR is gigantic. He's 30 feet tall. They need a big table to. But like if you're just watching that, if you're not like at the stadium and can't see that, like I'm just sitting there watching it, like, what is he gonna land on? This guy's 30 foot jump! Oh my god! It's like, oh, okay, they have the cushion cube that they always have. Thank God. But for a second, I was like, holy crap!
Yeah. I think they did a much better job of the height spot here than when Jericho went off a while back.
That was
So,
because that was legitimately scary.
Yeah, I think this was a lot more. This flowed a lot better, despite there clearly having been some downtime where I think there would have been spots with Santana and Ortiz that didn't happen. because of the injury. So yeah, I think that there's definitely a little bit of weirdness that you can notice with this. Of it seems like they had to kind of make up some time towards the end and push it out a little longer, because they did give them like 35 minutes for this match. This is a lengthy thing, because of the fact that the timer for entrance is so long. So yeah, it took a long time to get started, but I think it definitely ended really well.
Definitely, yeah.
All right.
I think I think there's something to be said about, like, I don't know what exactly is wrong with Chris Jericho, but he's just like the big match man. Like, I don't know, like he was Inner Circle was in both Stadium Stampedes, right?
Yep.
And
I
the
wonder if it's
Anarchy in
because
the
he's
Arena.
one of the people pushing for these matches to happen.
It would
He's
make
also
sense.
like still one of their biggest stars.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I'm not like surprised about it. It's just like props to him for like
At such an
that.
age too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such an age, and I think also just like AEW has really just like, I mean, we pointed this out with the Anarchy in the Arena, but they just know exactly how to do this. They don't have to have it pre-recorded anymore. Like, I thought it was going to be kind of sad to never see a Stadium Stampede ever again, but
Doesn't
it's
need to
like
be
they really
pre-recorded. We can
exactly
just
they
do
just
it.
kind of yeah, they did the things that the funny things with Matt Hardy that they could have done while it was pre-recorded, and now like they've kind of mastered the art of just having a million things going on without having it be too much for both people that are there and for people that are watching on TV, and having it be completely live. And it's just crazy how that works. And Blood and Guts is very similar in that regard, because there's two whole rings with the crazy cage on top, and it's just a million things going on. The choreographing that must be hell on earth,
Yeah.
but it was handled like really well. I can't imagine doing that.
Mm-hmm. All right. There's like two other things in this Dynamite episode that I want to mention that were very
Okay.
fun that happened.
Mm-hmm.
One is Danhausen mysteriously getting FTR. As
Yeah,
his
that was
tag
awesome.
partners. I just want to call that out as a great choice. Very fun. The other, Luchasaurus, going
Oh
negative.
yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Evil Luchasaurus.
Evil Luchasaurus, which is, I think, very exciting.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Because Christian Cage is pulling all the stops out, and I'm excited to see where this eventually goes with Jungle Boy. And it seems like they might push something into Jack Perry and have an angle like that I could see happening. Something crazy with
Mhm.
Luchasaurus, lots of opportunities here for fun things. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was a really good follow up to a pay per view.
For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. The Luchasaurus especially, like, this is so easy to just like read on paper and be like, "Oh, that's hilarious." But it's genuinely like, "Oh no, he and Jungle Boy are going to have to fight probably." Oh god, he's just a dinosaur. He doesn't know any better, Christian Cage. You brainwashed him and now he's goth. Oh no. Like it's just genuinely interesting
Yeah.
beyond just a funny standpoint. And if he gets a little bit of a singles run out of it, good for him, because it was a pretty good little match that he had.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where this leads. All right. The final thing I wanted to mention is our crazy Rampage Rumble thing that happened with the double arena setup from Blood and Guts that they had. They were able to film Rampage with the two arenas. And so we got
Yeah.
a Rumble match going on with split into colored arenas. So we had like a red arena and I forget if it was blue or black or something else, but
It was
the
blue, yeah.
blue, the other arena, and you had two sets of rumbles going on at the same time, and I think that worked really well because people weren't. It didn't look like there were 20 people in the ring the whole time, which is
Yeah,
a
yeah.
constant problem with these rumble type matches. Of okay, well, there's 20 people in the ring and only three of them are ever doing something at a time, so you have like 10 people on the outside just laying there, and then like 5 people standing in the ring doing nothing. I think this solved that problem for the most part because they were able to keep
Yep.
a small enough amount of people in them. And Brody King taking this home, very
Taking the
exciting to
cake.
me because I want to see
Yeah.
this Moxley and Brody King match very
Yeah.
bad.
It's gonna be
Uh,
good.
it's not who I expected to take this home, but I think it's a good choice for a like one-off match.
Yeah.
And I could see some angle here leading into Blackpool and House of Black, and that is something that I want to see. That's like
Yeah.
a crazy booking thing that
Yeah.
could happen.
Dude, hey, work it in so Ruby's there with Blackpool, and then you get someone
For
to
Julia Hart.
yeah. fight Julia Hart.
Yeah, I think
perfect.
that's a great potential mini feud for these two to go to and just have this weird, wacky two stables going at it match that I think could be really, really fun. And man, maybe we get to see Jon Moxley and Malachi Black go at it. And I want to see that more than I think anything on this roster right now.
Because what's Malachi's single ranking right now? I mean, it's got to be pretty good.
It's pretty
I imagine.
high. It's pretty
It's
high.
probably very easy to make it even higher. So it's you can make it work.
Yeah.
I could totally see that happening, and I think that'd be a lot of fun. Especially because we've hit that point where I think AEW has the issue of so many main eventers are out right now. They need to have people step up from like the upper mid card into main event, at least while like Danielson and Punk are out. And MJF is on whatever thing is going on right now.
He's out.
He's quote unquote out because like they can't just pull him back or else his storyline's gonna make no sense. So
of course
they need to have some people step up, and I think the House of Black is a great candidate for that. I think there's a lot of potential here. So all right. That said, we're done. We talked about the matches. We're gonna be back in a couple months, September, for good old fashioned. Was it All Out?
All Out
next. Yeah, well, good. The Forbidden Door has thrown my pay-per-view scheduling out of whack because it happened at such a weird time after Double or Nothing. But yeah, I think this is a really good stretch of stuff that has not had the problems that a lot of AEW television recently has had. So yeah, I'm excited to see what this turns into. All right, that's the show. We'll be back next time.
Goodbye, everybody.
Well, you're still here for like 25 seconds while the outro plays.
I'm excited to see Brody and Mox just like slap the shit out of each other for a whole like 20 minutes. Because that is going to be brutal.